The alien laughed hysterically, broadcasting footage of a clumsy human tripping over their dog, until the alien noticed the dog's teeth ripping out the throat of a practice dummy. Commander Xanth leaned back in his chair, flicking through entertainment feeds intercepted from the primitive human civilization. The glowing screens of the Ocampa scout ship's bridge displayed a montage of humans stumbling, arguing, and fighting amongst themselves. The cloaked vessel orbited Earth, secretly studying the violent yet technologically underdeveloped species. "Look at these bumbling primates, barely able to walk without falling over." Xanth chuckled, gesturing to a clip of a human slipping on a banana peel. "They can't even stop killing each other over petty squabbles. The notion of them ever achieving interstellar travel is utterly absurd." On the planet's surface, K-9 Officer Justin Morgan patrolled the city streets, his loyal German Shepherd Max trotting alongside their police cruiser. The radio crackled with an urgent report of a bomb threat at the local mall. Justin and Max rushed to the scene, the latter's nose twitching as he picked up a scent. The duo methodically searched the mall complex until Max forcefully indicated an abandoned delivery van. Justin radioed for backup and the bomb squad, trusting his partner's detection of explosive compounds. Suddenly, a blinding light engulfed man and dog, whisking them away in a flash. Xanth bolted upright as alarms blared on the bridge. The ship's teleporter had activated without authorization, yanking the human and K-9 aboard. "What in the seven hells just happened?" Xanth demanded. "Sir, it appears our teleportation system malfunctioned and inadvertently seized 2 specimens from the planet," an ensign reported nervously. "A human male and a dog." Xanth groaned in exasperation. Unintentional first contact with the humans could jeopardize their entire surveillance mission. He ordered the prisoners detained and their minds wiped, intending to return them promptly. Justin paced the cramped holding cell, examining every inch for flaws to exploit. Max whined softly, unsettled by the foreign environment. Metallic walls and advanced technology confirmed Justin's suspicions. They were trapped on an extraterrestrial ship. He attempted to hail their captors but received only silence. Heated arguments filled the scout ship's briefing room. Some crew members advocated for the immediate release of the hostages, while others saw a rare chance to directly observe human conduct. Xanth silenced the debate with a raised hand. "We'll keep the human and the dog on board for further study," Xanth declared. "I want to witness how they cope with captivity and interact under duress. We'll wipe their memories before returning them." Justin knew time was running out. As he frantically searched for an escape route, the ship lurched violently. Alerts resonated through the halls as a critical engine failure sent the vessel spiraling towards Earth. Blazing heat enveloped the hull, emergency force fields barely withstanding the friction of uncontrolled atmospheric entry. Seizing the opportunity amidst the chaos, Justin rewired the cell's locking mechanism and fled with Max. Navigating the unfamiliar ship layout, they reached a viewport displaying the rapidly approaching planet surface. Justin gritted his teeth, realizing the true gravity of their predicament. They were aboard a crippled alien ship plummeting towards an inevitable crash landing. He would need every ounce of skill and luck to survive the impact, find a way home, and manage the crisis of being stranded with their extraterrestrial abductors. The fate of both species hung in the balance, threatened by the potential for a catastrophic first contact scenario. In that moment, Justin knew that the actions of one man and his dog could redefine Earth's role in the universe, for better or for worse. Justin gripped the edges of his seat, his knuckles turning white as the Ocampa ship screamed through Earth's atmosphere. Max pressed close to his side, whining softly as the vessel shuddered and groaned under the strain. With a deafening roar, the ship plowed into the mountainside, carving a deep gash in the forested slope. Metal shrieked and sparks flew as the craft finally came to a halt, smoke billowing from its twisted frame. Justin kicked at the warped hatch until it gave way, tumbling out into the snow with Max close behind. Miraculously, both man and dog were unharmed, shielded by the ship's automated safety fields. Xanth and his crew emerged from the wreckage, battered and bloody. They stared at Justin and Max in shock, realizing their captives had escaped in the chaos. Wincing in pain, Xanth held up a hand as Justin approached, his face etched with anger. "Why did you take us?" Justin demanded. "What do you want?" Xanth sighed, looking up at the human towering over him. "We were sent to observe your world in secret," he admitted, "to learn about your species. But when we accidentally brought you on board, it triggered a system failure. We never meant for this to happen." Justin opened his mouth to reply, but a savage growl from Max cut him off. The dog's hackles rose as he stared into the trees, his teeth bared. A massive grizzly bear burst from the underbrush, drawn by the commotion of the crash. It reared up on its hind legs, bellowing a challenge. "Max, attack!" Justin commanded, falling back on his police training. The German shepherd lunged forward, snarling ferociously as he confronted the bear. The Ocampa watched in awe as the much smaller animal stood its ground, snapping at the bear's face. The bear hesitated, confused by Max's show of aggression. Justin used the moment to draw his gun, firing into the air. The sharp cracks of gunfire echoed through the mountains, and the bear turned tail, vanishing back into the forest. Xanth stared at Justin, a newfound respect in his eyes. "Thank you," he said quietly. "We misjudged your kind. It seems we have much to learn." Justin holstered his weapon, looking around at the unfamiliar terrain. "We're not going to last long out here alone," he said. "I have some survival training, but we'll need to work together." Xanth nodded. "Agreed. Your skills and our knowledge combined." With Max ranging ahead, Justin and the Ocampa set off into the wilderness, forging an uneasy alliance. As they trekked through the rugged landscape, Justin shared his knowledge of the local plants and animals, while the Ocampa provided insights into problem-solving and innovation. Day by day, a bond began to grow between the unlikely companions. The Ocampa marveled at Justin and Max's resourcefulness, their preconceptions about humans crumbling away. But the mountains held many dangers, from treacherous cliffs to raging snowstorms, and always the threat of discovery by other humans loomed over them. Justin knew that if they were found, it could lead to a disastrous first contact, one that could change the course of both species. As they huddled around a flickering campfire one night, Xanth turned to Justin, his face solemn. "The future of both our peoples may depend on what happens out here," he said softly. "Can your kind handle the truth of our existence?" Justin stared into the flames. Max curled at his feet. "I don't know," he admitted. "But we have to try. We have to find a way." The firelight danced in Xanth's eyes as he nodded. "Then we shall forge that path together, come what may." The mountain air bit at Justin's face as he led the weary group down a steep trail. Max trotted ahead, nose to the ground. Behind them, Xanth and the other Ocampa stumbled on unfamiliar terrain. "Wait," Justin called, holding up a hand. He peered through a gap in the trees. "There's a town down there." Xanth limped to Justin's side, cradling his injured arm. "We need supplies and medical attention." Justin nodded grimly. "I'll go in first, scout it out." He made his way down to the outskirts of the small town, Max at his heels. Dilapidated buildings lined the empty streets. A bearded man hurried past, eyes down. "Excuse me," Justin called. The man flinched and quickened his pace. Justin frowned. Something was off here. He approached a boarded-up general store, studying the faded sign. A whisper caught his ear. "Psst, you new in town?" An old woman peered out from a doorway. Justin nodded. "Best move on," she hissed. "Rafe and his boys don't take kindly to strangers." "Who's Rafe?" The woman's eyes darted around. "The one who runs things now. Him and his gang. They take what they want, do what they want. Sheriff can't stop 'em." Justin's expression resolute. He'd seen this before. Small towns terrorized by criminals. He thanked the woman and headed back to the group. As he explained the situation, Xanth shook his head. "We cannot interfere in human affairs," the alien insisted. "We can't just leave these people to suffer," Justin argued. "I have an idea, but I'll need Max's help. The next day, Justin strode confidently into town, projecting an air of danger. He found the local bar and pushed through the doors. Conversation stopped as heads turned. A burly man with a scarred face stood from a corner table. "Who the hell are you?" he growled. Justin met his gaze coolly. "Name's Justin. Heard you boys might have work for a guy with my skills." The man, clearly Rafe, looked him up and down. "What skills?" Justin smirked. "The kind that leave bodies behind." Rafe's eyes gleamed with interest. "Show me." Over the next few days, Justin integrated himself into the gang. He demonstrated his marksmanship, hand-to-hand combat, and tactical knowledge. All the while, he gathered intel. Each night, he snuck out to the woods where Max waited. The dog carried messages to and from the hidden Ocampa, relaying Justin's findings. On the fourth night, Justin crouched beside Max, speaking in a low voice. "It's worse than we thought. They've got alien tech, pieces of your ship. They're using it to upgrade their weapons." Xanth's reply came via a small device attached to Max's collar. "This is grave news. We must act." Justin nodded grimly. "I've got a plan, but we'll need help from the townspeople." He sought out Sheriff Tom Hawkins, finding the man drinking alone in his office. "I know you've been resisting Rafe," Justin said without preamble. "I'm here to help." The sheriff eyed him warily. "Who are you, really?" "Someone who wants to see this town free. Are you with me?" Slowly, Hawkins nodded. The plan came together over hushed meetings and furtive messages. Finally, the day arrived. Justin led Rafe and his top men to an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. "Got a big score planned," he'd told them. "Need your best guys." As they entered the dark building, floodlights suddenly blazed. Sheriff Hawkins and a group of armed townspeople emerged from hiding. "What the?" Rafe snarled, reaching for his gun. But Justin was faster. He tackled Rafe as chaos erupted. Gunfire filled the air. Max burst through a side door, teeth bared. The dog leapt at a bandit taking aim at Justin, clamping down on the man's arm. The Ocampa joined the fray, their alien physiology giving them an edge in the confined space. Justin grappled with Rafe, the two men trading blows. Rafe produced a knife, the blade glinting with an otherworldly sheen. He slashed wildly. "Justin!" Xanth cried in warning. Without thinking, Justin shoved the alien aside. Searing pain lanced across his back as Rafe's knife found its mark. Gritting his teeth, Justin spun and landed a crushing right hook. Rafe crumpled. When the dust settled, the bandits lay subdued. The alien tech was secured. As Sheriff Hawkins led Rafe away in cuffs, the townsfolk cheered. Justin sagged against a wall, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Xanth hurried to his side. "You saved me," the alien said softly. Justin managed a weak smile. That's what friends do. As the adrenaline faded, Justin realized the magnitude of what they'd done. They'd liberated the town, but at what cost to their secrecy? The journey ahead loomed, fraught with new dangers. But as Justin looked at Max, then at Xanth, he knew they'd face it together. The town's makeshift infirmary buzzed with activity as Justin helped the local doctor tend to the wounded Ocampa. Xanth winced as antiseptic was applied to a gash on his arm. "We can't keep going like this," Justin said, voicing the thought that had been gnawing at him. "We need a safe place to regroup." Xanth nodded grimly. "Agreed, but where?" As they debated their options, Sheriff Hawkins approached, his weathered face etched with concern. "Folks are mighty grateful for what you did," he said, "but they're starting to ask questions. And that alien tech you recovered, it's dangerous in the wrong hands." Justin's mind raced. Then it hit him, an old memory from his Marine days. "I might know a place," he said, "an abandoned military outpost in the mountains. Used it for training exercises years back." Hawkins' eyes lit up with recognition. "I know the one. Been empty for years, but last I heard, the defenses were still intact." Over the next few days, as the Ocampa recovered their strength, Justin and Xanth hatched a plan. They'd move the alien tech to the outpost, buying time to study it and figure out how to neutralize or safely remove it. Under cover of darkness, they loaded the artifacts onto a small convoy of trucks provided by grateful townsfolk. Max took point, his keen senses alert for any sign of danger, as they wound their way through treacherous mountain passes. The convoy had just entered a narrow ravine when gunfire erupted from the cliffs above. "Ambush!" Justin shouted, diving for cover. A group of Rafe's remaining bandits had tracked them, seeking revenge. Bullets pinged off metal as Justin returned fire. Beside him, Xanth wielded a makeshift energy weapon cobbled together from salvaged tech. Max sprang into action, racing up a scree slope towards the attackers. His sudden appearance caught them off guard, giving Justin and the others the opening they needed. The firefight was intense but brief. When the dust settled, the bandits lay subdued or fleeing into the night. Justin knelt beside Max, checking the dog for injuries. "Good boy," he murmured. Dawn was breaking as they finally reached the outpost. Its imposing walls loomed before them, a welcome sight after the harrowing journey. They quickly secured the perimeter and began unloading the precious cargo. In the days that followed, the facility hummed with activity. Xanth and his fellow scientists pored over the alien artifacts, their excitement palpable. Justin, meanwhile, tackled the outpost's old communications array, hoping to establish contact with someone who could help. But tensions simmered beneath the surface. Some Ocampa pushed to destroy the tech outright, fearing its power. Others argued for harnessing its potential. Justin found himself caught in the middle, struggling to balance alien concerns with human curiosity. One evening, as Justin tinkered with the comms, Xanth approached. "Your people aren't ready for this technology," the alien said softly. "The consequences could be severe." Justin sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know, but think of the good it could do in the right hands." Their debate was cut short by a commotion outside. Sheriff Hawkins had arrived, his face grim. "We've got a problem," he said. "Folks in town are getting restless. Rumors are flying. They want answers." Justin exchanged a worried glance with Xanth. The delicate balance they'd struck was threatening to unravel. As the weight of their situation settled over them, one thing became clear. They were running out of time to find a solution that would satisfy both humans and Ocampa alike. Justin paced the length of the outpost's makeshift lab, his boots echoing on the concrete floor. Xanth stood by a workbench, carefully examining a strange metallic object. The tension in the air was palpable. "We need to lock this stuff away," Justin said, gesturing to the alien artifacts spread across the room. "It's too dangerous." Xanth looked up, his large eyes reflecting the harsh fluorescent light. "But think of what we could learn, Justin. This technology could revolutionize your world." Before Justin could respond, the door burst open. Valrin, another Ocampa scientist, rushed in, his face flushed with excitement. "I've made a breakthrough," he exclaimed, holding up a pulsing device. "This could be our ticket home." Justin's eyes widened. "Valrin, what have you done?" The device in Valrin's hands began to vibrate violently. A high-pitched whine filled the air, growing louder by the second. Sparks erupted from nearby equipment. "It's overloading," Xanth shouted. "Shut it down!" Valrin fumbled with the controls, panic etched on his face. "I can't." The room exploded into chaos. Alarms blared as the outpost's systems went haywire. Justin sprinted for the door, shouting over his shoulder, "Max, we need the radiation case." The loyal dog took off like a shot, weaving through the panicked Ocampa in the hallway. Justin turned back to the lab, where Xanth and Valrin struggled with the malfunctioning device. A blinding flash of energy pulsed from the artifact, knocking them all off their feet. Justin's ears rang as he stumbled to his knees. Through the haze, he saw Max bounding back, the heavy radiation case clamped in his jaws. "Good boy," Justin gasped, taking the case. He and Xanth wrestled the unstable device into the container, slamming the lid shut just as another energy surge threatened to overwhelm them. For a moment, all was quiet. Then the distant sound of helicopters reached their ears. Justin rushed to a window, his heart sinking at the sight of military vehicles approaching. "We've got company," he said grimly. Hours later, Justin found himself face to face with a stern-faced military commander. Armed soldiers surrounded the outpost, their weapons trained on the buildings. "I'm telling you, they're not a threat," Justin insisted, his voice hoarse from shouting. "They're scientists, explorers. We can learn from each other." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Stand aside, son. We're taking them into custody." Justin planted his feet, blocking the entrance. "No, I won't let you." A tense silence fell over the standoff. Then a shout from the tree line shattered the quiet. Gunfire erupted as Rafe's bandits launched their assault. Chaos engulfed the outpost. Justin dove for cover, bullets whizzing past his head. He saw Max charge towards a bandit, taking the man down with a vicious snarl. To his amazement, Justin watched as Ocampa, townsfolk, and even some of the soldiers banded together to repel the attack. Sheriff Hawkins appeared at his side, shotgun in hand. "Looks like we've got a common enemy," the sheriff said with a grim smile. As the battle raged, Justin caught sight of Max weaving through the firefight. The dog's actions seemed to galvanize both sides, human and alien alike. When the dust settled, the bandits lay subdued or fled into the forest. The military commander approached Justin, his expression unreadable. "It seems I may have misjudged the situation," he said gruffly. "We'll stand down, for now." Justin nodded, relief washing over him. But as he looked at Xanth, he knew their challenges were a long way to go. The real work of building trust between their two species had only just begun. "Oh." The mountain air bit at Justin's skin as he knelt beside Max, running his fingers through the dog's thick fur. "You've been the best friend a man could ask for," he said, his voice rough with emotion. Max whined softly, pressing his muzzle against Justin's hand. Sheriff Hawkins stood nearby, hat in hand. "We'll take good care of him, son. You just focus on getting back in one piece." Justin nodded, giving Max a final pat before rising to his feet. He turned to face the looming shape of the Ocampa scout ship, its sleek lines a stark contrast to the rugged landscape. Inside the vessel, human and Ocampa scientists worked side by side, their fingers flying over alien consoles. Justin made his way to the medical bay, where Dr. Elena Chen waited with a hypospray. "Last round of treatments," she said, pressing the device to his neck. Justin winced as the cocktail of drugs flooded his system, designed to fortify his body against the rigors of space travel. Xanth appeared in the doorway, his large eyes shimmering with excitement. "We're ready for launch, Justin. It's time." The ship hummed to life beneath their feet. Justin strapped himself into the co-pilot's chair, his heart pounding. As the vessel lifted off, he watched the Earth fall away through the view screen, a blue marble shrinking against the vastness of space. "My God," he breathed, awe overwhelming him as they punched through the atmosphere into the star-studded void beyond. Days blurred together as they hurtled through hyperspace. Justin pored over alien star charts with Xanth, marveling at the intricate patterns of cosmic geography. "Look at this," Xanth said, pointing to a swirling nebula on the display. "We call it the Cradle of Stars. Your people have never seen anything like it." Their wonderment was cut short by a commotion from the engineering section. Dr. Richard Hartley, a brilliant but arrogant human physicist, stormed onto the bridge, his face flushed with anger. "This is unacceptable," he shouted, waving a datapad. "I demand access to the propulsion systems. There's so much we could learn, so much we could improve." Xanth stepped forward, his normally serene features clouded with concern. "Dr. Hartley, we've discussed this. Our technology isn't safe for—" Hartley lunged for the control panel, his fingers flying over the alien interface. Alarms blared as the ship lurched violently, nearly throwing them off their feet. "Stop!" Justin yelled, grabbing Hartley's arm. The scientist struggled, his eyes wild with a mix of fear and manic willpower. The ship bucked again, warning lights flashing across every display. An Ocampa engineer cried out in pain as a console exploded in a shower of sparks. Justin wrestled Hartley to the ground, pinning the man's arms behind his back. "Stand down, Doctor," he growled. "You're endangering everyone on board." As the crisis subsided, Justin realized all eyes were on him, human and Ocampa alike. He'd acted on instinct, drawing on his years of military training. Now he saw a newfound respect in their gazes. Xanth approached, placing a hand on Justin's shoulder. "Thank you, my friend. You may have saved us all." The incident behind them, they pressed on into the cosmic unknown. Justin found himself spending more time on the bridge, acting as a liaison between the two species. One cycle, as Justin stared out at the hypnotic swirl of hyperspace, Xanth called out an alarm. Sensors are detecting a massive anomaly ahead. On the console, a shimmering barrier of energy stretched as far as the eye could see, rippling with otherworldly colors. "It's a distortion field," Xanth explained, his voice filled with awe. "Created by the Seeders, the race that spread life throughout the galaxy. This could be a shortcut to our homeworld." The crew debated fiercely, weighing the risks against the potential rewards. In the end, it was Justin who tipped the scales. "We came out here to explore," he said, addressing both humans and Ocampa. "To push the boundaries of what's possible. I say we take the chance." With the decision made, they set to work. Justin volunteered to pilot a specially modified probe into the anomaly, his hand steady on the controls as he guided the tiny craft into the swirling maelstrom. "Reading massive gravitational fluctuations," he reported, his voice tense as the probe bucked and shuddered. "Adjusting course to compensate." For hours, Justin navigated the probe through the cosmic labyrinth, relaying a constant stream of data back to the ship. His muscles ached from the strain, sweat beading on his brow as he fought to keep the craft stable. Finally, a triumphant cry went up from the Ocampa scientists. They'd cracked the code, modifying their deflector arrays to match the anomaly's frequency. "Initiating transit sequence," Xanth announced, his fingers dancing across the controls. The ship surged forward, penetrating the shimmering barrier. Justin gritted his teeth as reality seemed to twist and bend around them. Then, with a final lurch, they burst free on the other side. Gasps of wonder filled the bridge. Before them lay a vista of impossible beauty. Countless stars and planets, each teeming with life and possibility. "It's incredible," Justin breathed, drinking in the sight. But their moment of triumph was short-lived. A harsh klaxon cut through the air, red warning lights bathing the bridge in an ominous glow. "Multiple vessels approaching," an Ocampa officer reported, fear evident in his voice. "Configuration unknown. They're powering weapons." Justin's hand tightened on the controls as the unknown ships drew near. They'd found a new frontier, but it seemed the greatest challenges still lay ahead. The bridge erupted into chaos as the Kyaldran armada loomed into view. Massive warships, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence, surrounded the human Ocampa vessel. "Evasive maneuvers," Justin shouted, his hands flying across the alien controls. The ship lurched violently as emerald beams of energy sliced through space, barely missing their hull. Xanth's large eyes widened in alarm as he studied the tactical display. "Their weapons are unlike anything we've encountered," he said, his voice tight with tension. "Our shields won't hold against a direct hit." Justin gritted his teeth, mind racing. "We need to buy time. Xanth, what if we combine the Ocampa deflector technology with the phase variance techniques we developed back on Earth?" Xanth's fingers danced across the console, running rapid simulations. "It's risky, but it might work. We'd need to reroute power from life support." "Do it," Justin ordered, his eyes never leaving the view screen as another volley of Kyaldran weapons fire erupted around them. The ship shuddered as Xanth and his team worked feverishly to implement the untested shield matrix. Warning klaxons blared, the air growing thin as life support systems faltered. "Shield matrix online!" Xanth called out, his normally serene features etched with strain. The next Kyaldran blast struck their ship head-on. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if their defenses would fail. Then, miraculously, the energy dissipated in a brilliant flash of light. "It's working," Justin breathed, allowing himself a moment of relief. "But we're still outgunned. We need to disappear." He outlined his plan quickly. watching as understanding dawned on Xanth's face. The distortion field, Xanth mused. If we can mask our energy signature within its fluctuations. Exactly, Justin nodded. But we'll need to recalibrate the deflector array. It could overload our power core. Xanth hesitated, weighing the risks. Another blast rocked the ship, the decision made for him. Do it, he said grimly. Justin's fingers flew across the controls, pushing the ship's systems far beyond their normal parameters. The deck plates thrummed beneath their feet as power surged through conduits never meant to handle such loads. On the bridge, Xanth coordinated the crew's efforts, his calm voice a stark contrast to the frenetic activity around him. Cauldron vessels closing in, he reported. Their scanners are probing our defenses. Justin held his breath, watching as the hostile ships drew ever closer. The view screen flickered and distorted, the Cauldron vessels seeming to waver like mirages in a desert. It's working, Xanth whispered, his eyes fixed on the sensor readouts. Our energy signature is dispersing into the background radiation. The bridge fell silent as they watched the Cauldron ships grow more agitated, their search patterns becoming erratic. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the alien vessels turned away, their engines flaring as they moved off to continue their hunt elsewhere. A ragged cheer went up from the crew, but Justin knew their ordeal was not nearly finished. As they slipped deeper into the uncharted domain, new wonders and terrors awaited them at every turn. They encountered vast, shimmering nebulae that defied the laws of physics, their colors shifting in impossible patterns. Ancient space stations drifted silently, their corridors filled with the preserved remains of long-dead alien races frozen in time. During one such exploration, a faint signal caught Justin's attention. He frowned, adjusting the sensors to focus on its source. Xanth, he called out, are you seeing this? The Ocampa scientist joined him at the console, his expression grave. It appears to be a distress call, he confirmed. But Justin, we cannot risk... We have to check it out, Justin interrupted, his teeth clenched with a stubborn commitment that Xanth had come to recognize all too well. Despite the protests of his Ocampa colleagues, Justin guided their ship towards the signal's origin. As they drew closer, a massive structure came into view, a derelict vessel unlike anything they had ever seen. It's alive, Xanth breathed, his scientific curiosity overcoming his earlier reservations. The ship before them pulsed with a soft, bioluminescent glow. Its hull seemed to ripple and shift, more like the skin of some gargantuan spacefaring creature than a constructed vessel. As they docked with the alien craft, Justin led a small team to investigate. The interior was a marvel of bioengineering, corridors lined with pulsing organic matter that seemed to respond to their presence. They found the survivors deep within the vessel's core, a handful of beings whose bodies seemed to shimmer and shift, never quite settling on a single form. Their eyes, however, were hauntingly familiar, filled with fear, hope, and a desperate plea for help. "Oh, please!" one of the aliens rasped, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "The Cauldron, they hunt us. We cannot fall into their hands." Justin felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. He turned to Xanth, seeing the conflict in his friend's eyes. "We can't leave them," Justin said softly. Xanth nodded slowly. "No, we cannot. But Justin, this decision may doom us all." As they brought the refugees aboard their ship, tension filled the air. Human and Ocampa crew members eyed the newcomers warily, their unease palpable. Justin worked tirelessly to smooth over conflicts, to build bridges between the disparate groups now forced to coexist in the cramped confines of their vessel. The refugees, grateful for their rescue, shared what they knew of the Cauldron Empire, its strengths, its weaknesses, and the terrifying scope of its power. But their respite was short-lived. Alarms blared as sensors detected a Cauldron patrol closing in fast. "They've locked onto the bioship's energy signature," Xanth reported, his voice tight with worry. Justin stared at the approaching Cauldron fleet, his mind racing. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and rapidly running out of options. But as he looked around at the diverse faces of his crew, human, Ocampa, and now these new refugees, he felt a surge of dedication. "I have a plan," he announced, his voice cutting through the panic on the bridge. "It's crazy, it's dangerous, and it just might work, but I'm going to need everyone's help." As the Cauldron ships drew ever closer, Justin began to outline his audacious strategy. Justin's eyes glinted with fierce intensity as he outlined his plan to the assembled crew. "We use the bioconstruct as bait," he said, pointing to a holographic display of the massive derelict vessel. "The Cauldrons want us? Let's give them something to chase." Xanth frowned, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "The risk is considerable, Justin. If we miscalculate—" "We don't have a choice," Justin cut in. "It's this or face certain capture." The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity. Ocampa technicians swarmed over the bioconstruct's control systems, their fingers dancing across alien interfaces as they reprogrammed its energy signature. Justin coordinated with the refugee survivors, their shifting forms adding an otherworldly dimension to the preparations. "We'll need every scrap of ordnance you can spare," Justin told one of the alien refugees. The being's form coalesced into a vaguely humanoid shape, nodding in agreement. Hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. Justin's hands shook with exhaustion as he helped load the last of the spatial mines into position. The bioconstruct's cavernous holds now bristled with deadly surprises for their pursuers. "Launch sequence initiated," Xanth's voice crackled over the comm. Justin and his team of human marines scrambled back to their ship, watching as the massive bioconstruct slowly came to life. The derelict vessel's skin pulsed with eerie bioluminescence as it accelerated away from them. Justin held his breath, watching the sensor readouts. Long seconds ticked by. Suddenly alarms blared. "Cauldron vessels detected!" an Ocampa officer shouted. "They've taken the bait!" Justin allowed himself a grim smile. "Now we wait," he said softly. The Ocampa ship hung motionless in space, its cloaking systems straining to keep them hidden. On the main view screen, they watched as the Cauldron warships closed in on the bioconstruct decoy. "They're within range," Xanth reported, his voice tense. Justin's hand hovered over the control panel. "Now!" he barked. Space itself seemed to erupt. Spatial mines detonated in rapid succession, engulfing the Cauldron ships in a storm of destructive energy. Proximity charges exploded against their hulls, ripping through armor plating. "Cloak disengaging," Xanth called out. "Weapons online." The Ocampa ship surged forward, energy weapons lashing out at the disoriented Cauldron fleet. Justin coordinated their assault, targeting weakened shield emitters and weapons arrays with surgical precision. A massive energy spike registered on their sensors. "The Cauldron flagship," Xanth shouted. "They're overloading their antimatter reactors." Justin's mind raced. "All remaining charges, target their containment fields." A final barrage of detonations rippled across space. The Cauldron flagship twisted and buckled as its own energies turned inward. A blinding flash seared their retinas as the antimatter reaction consumed the entire squadron. The bioconstruct decoy, caught in the blast wave, shattered into countless fragments. Silence fell over the bridge. Justin sagged against his console, the adrenaline rush fading. Around him, human and alien faces alike stared in awe at the debris field that had once been a Cauldron battle fleet. We did it," Xanth breathed, his normally stoic demeanor cracking. As the reality of their victory sank in, the ship's communications array lit up with incoming transmissions. Precursor civilizations, long hidden and mysterious, now reached out with offers of alliance and cooperation. Justin met Xanth's gaze, a mixture of pride and trepidation in his eyes. They had won an impossible victory, but at what cost? The Cauldron Empire would not forget this humiliation. As they charted a course deeper into the unknown, Justin knew their greatest challenges still lay ahead. The Ocampa ship groaned and shuddered as it limped through space, its hull scarred and battered from the fierce battle against the Caldron Empire. Justin stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the console, watching as unfamiliar star systems drifted past. The taste of victory was bittersweet, tinged with the loss of so many lives. "Captain," an Ocampa officer called out, her voice tight with urgency. "Long-range sensors are detecting an anomaly forming behind us." Justin rushed to the sensor station, leaning over the console. His heart sank as he saw the swirling vortex of energy expanding in their wake. "Xanth, what are we looking at?" The Ocampa scientist's fingers danced across the controls, his large eyes widening as data streamed across the screen. "It appears to be a tear in the fabric of space-time," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The antimatter explosion from the Caldron flagship, it's destabilized the quantum forces in this region." Justin watched in horror as the rift grew, consuming everything in its path. "How long before it reaches populated systems?" Xanth's calculations were grim. "At its current rate of expansion, we have less than 48 hours before it begins to devour entire star systems." The bridge fell silent, the weight of this new threat settling heavily on their shoulders. Justin paced, his mind racing. "There has to be a way to stop it," he muttered. Xanth looked up, a spark of inspiration in his eyes. "Perhaps there is. If we combine human sciences with Ocampa metaphysics, we might be able to generate an oscillating subspace field. In theory, it could reseal the rift." Justin nodded, hope flaring in his chest. "What do you need?" "We'll need to construct a series of harmonic resonators," Xanth explained, bringing up schematics on the main view screen. "They'll channel immense energies to realign the very strings of existence." "Get on it," Justin ordered. He turned to the communications officer. "Contact the civilizations we've encountered. We're going to need all the help we can get." The next hours passed in a blur of activity. Justin coordinated with alien representatives, securing vital resources and expertise. The refugee survivors they had rescued earlier stepped up, offering their unique insights and abilities. In the ship's engineering bay, Ocampa technicians worked alongside human crew members, assembling the complex array of resonators. The air crackled with tension and purpose as they raced against time. Finally, with the modifications complete, Justin gave the order to enter the anomaly. The ship plunged into the swirling vortex of fractured space-time, reality itself seeming to warp and twist around them. "Deploying resonator array," Xanth called out, his fingers flying across the controls. Justin watched as the devices spun out into carefully calculated orbits around the ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a wave of energy pulsed outward, followed by another and another. The ship bucked and heaved as the cosmic forces battered against it. Warning klaxons blared as systems began to overload. "The harmonic waves are working," Xanth shouted over the din. "But our power systems can't handle the strain." Justin's eyes darted between the readouts, his heart pounding. They were so close, but the ship was falling apart around them. He made a decision that tore at his very soul. "Vent the reactors," he ordered, his voice hoarse. "Divert all power to the resonator array." As the deadly order was carried out, toxic atmospheres began to flood the lower decks. Justin watched in anguish as crew members collapsed, overcome by the poisonous fumes. Xanth stumbled, gasping for breath, before slumping to the floor. With most of his crew incapacitated, Justin took direct control of the ship's systems. His fingers flew across the console, rerouting every scrap of power to the resonators. The ship groaned and shuddered, on the verge of tearing itself apart. Just when all seemed lost, the harmonic pulses reached a crescendo. The rift before them shuddered, cosmic forces realigning in a breathtaking display of energy. In an instant, the tear sealed itself, reality knitting back together. But the victory came at a terrible price. The ship's systems were fried, explosions ripping through deck after deck. With a heavy heart, Justin gave the order to abandon ship. In the last functioning life pod, Justin stood before the remains of his fallen comrades. Xanth's body lay still, his features peaceful in death. Justin's voice broke as he spoke the words of remembrance, honoring their sacrifice. As the life pod drifted away from the wreckage, Justin gazed out at the stars. Xanth's final words echoed in his mind. The price of restoring existence is existence itself. The pod's sensors picked up a distant inhabited world, and Justin set a course. Though they had lost so much, a flame of hope still burned within him. Humanity had left its mark on the cosmos, for better or worse. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, a union of species forged in the fires of an impossible victory.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.